Hi, I'm Dr. Alex Rhema Zacariah, MD. I'm a retired medical oncologist, originally from India, but now settled in Urbana, Illinois for the last 5 years. The whole of my family are physicians, all members, and my wife is a physician. And we both are retired and settled here. And recently, I was the Chief Medical Officer of Provena United Samaritan Medical Center, and now I'm involved with the American Cancer Society as a volunteer in bringing these episodes to you. And today we have Chris, an American Cancer Society volunteer, and Jean, a cancer survivor. And today our topic is cancer. Can it run in families? Well, to start the ball rolling, Chris.
Thank you. My name is Chris Noffsinger. I am a volunteer driver for the American Cancer Society Road to Recovery. I pick up patients at their homes, take them to their appointments, and then back to their homes. I've been doing this, it's almost been 6 years. As a volunteer in the Road to Recovery program, you can utilize as much time as you want or as little, depending on your schedule. And there is a volunteer coordinator who works at the American Cancer Society. Her name is Pam Barak, B-A-R-A-K. And she is the one who schedules the patient with the driver. Now today we have Jean Cornell. Jean is a survivor of breast cancer, and we're going to listen to Jean as she relates her story. But I'd like to mention that I met Jean about 4 or 5 years ago. We're both volunteers for the Relay for Life event. I'm getting to know Jean a little more closely now. Jean is also on my committee for the Luminaria. I'm the chair. And Jean will be an excellent person to be involved in all of the writing of the Luminaria that we do. Now, Jean, if you could just briefly give us your story of how you found out you had cancer, and just let us know how things went.
Mine was really a strange way to find out I had cancer, because I had had a mammogram, and for some reason they didn't find out I had cancer. But because I had lost 103 pounds about 26 years previous, when they did a breast lift reduction, they found 19 out of the 26 slides showed I had cancer.
Oh, goodness.
And because of that, then I went in and had a double mammogram and had to wait for about 4 months to have that done. And so I was rather of a nervous wreck until I had to have that done, but I had that done. And so that's how I found out I had my cancer.
Wow. Did you undergo a radical mastectomy?
I did, and I only had to have one done because I had, I always just say regular cancer because I'm too lazy to say the correct thing. And then I had the other kind of cancer that will travel, I can't say it now that I'm trying to, but the kind of cancer that will travel throughout your body.
Yes.
And so my husband and I decided just to go ahead and have both breasts removed.
Yes.
So that I wouldn't have to worry about it anymore in the future, and I'm very glad that I did.
Oh, sure. I understand what that would involve.
Yes. Okay, that brings to our title, Can Cancer Run in the Families? Jean, can you give us some insight into that?
It definitely does. Before I had cancer, I took care of my mother. Some years before, at 20 years of age, I had to take care of my mother. She died at 43 years of age of breast cancer.
Breast cancer. Go ahead.
And then, to go back to when I had it, after I had mine, the next year, my oldest daughter had breast cancer. And she, like I did, had 2 kinds of cancer. She elected to go ahead and have a double mastectomy, but she went in and had breast reconstruction.
Yes.
And 2 years after that, my youngest daughter went in and had a lumpectomy. Now, they both found theirs from having a mammogram. So the mammogram was very worthwhile for those two, the two of those.
So your mother, then yourself, and two of your daughters. So we are talking of 4 people in one
Just
generation.
in my immediate family.
Immediate
Yeah,
family.
in your immediate families. Now, let me ask you a simple question. Since your mother had breast cancer, were you had in your back of your mind a thought that you could get it, and were you very regular in doing the manual checkup and mammogram and so on?
I was regular in doing the mammogram. I was not regular in doing the manual checkup. And the reason is because one time I thought I found a lump, and then like an idiot, I was scared, so I didn't do it anymore. But I always had my mammograms.
Good. That's a good strategy, because definitely, yes. But in that aspect, so is that made then in your regular normal life, had the fact that your mother had it, that I could get it, played any part in being a little anxious?
I wasn't anxious, but I was aware I could get it because I talked to a
Yes.
doctor, and he said that increased my chances.
Yes, yes.
You know, he said that doesn't mean you're going to get it, but that does mean that your chances are greater to get it.
All right.
Okay,
Then when it comes to the 2 daughters, were they extra careful in the sense they are extra aware of this?
They were aware of it. They had their mammograms. They, I think, both did their self-checkups like I was supposed to be doing. So they were more aware of it and caught it early, as I did, but mine was just a fluke that I caught it early.
Oh,
So-
yeah, understandably so. But there is an important factor in early detection,
Yes.
definitely.
Like I say, I was not too smart in not doing self-exams. I think that's very, very important because maybe I would have found mine even earlier. I don't know.
All right, tell us about the surgery and the recovery.
With mine, because I had had plastic surgery done, I had to wait a while to have my surgery.
Yes.
And I did have both breasts removed, and everything went well in doing it. And I'll tell you the truth, my husband also had surgery, had cancer, and was dying at the same time. So it's sort of a blur now as to how it went, but it went well. And I had everything. I had the tubes and everything, and I got along really well with it, and everything was fine.
So you recovered well from the surgery, and what next?
And what next? Everything was fine. I go in for my checkups as I should. You know, I believe at the first it was 2 months. And
How about radiotherapy and chemotherapy?
I caught it early enough. I didn't have to have anything done,
Oh,
which was
great.
wonderful.
See?
Yes.
That's an important point.
That was great.
So you don't have to be apologetic that you didn't do it because it was so early.
Right.
That's it. And you are sitting fit and active and alive and well.
Yeah, it was, like I said, I am not one to spend a lot of money on myself, but I spent $10,000 because I have such neck aches, and they said, okay, if you do a breast lift reduction, it
Yes.
might help your neck. And best $10,000 I ever spent was that because it got rid of the cancer early. So it was very
Oh, wow.
worthwhile.
That was at a point when breast reduction was an elective surgery rather than a mandatory surgery.
Yeah,
So-
yeah, I did it just because
Sure.
I thought it might help my neck problems.
Excellent.
Yeah,
You were
And-
very fortunate.
I was very, very, very lucky.
So from that, Jean, we come to this point of cancer running in the family. Here we have an instance of Jean telling us her mother, then herself, and 2 of her daughters. And about your mother, was it early or late?
I was 20 years old, and I never asked. I just thought it was my mom and whatever, and I took care of her the last 3 or 4 months of her life, but I don't really know.
I can guess it if you say after the diagnosis, how long she lived.
See, I don't even know that.
No?
No, I was so stupid I didn't even ask that.
Well, did you live away from where she lived?
No. I just, I knew I took care of her the last 3 or 4 months of her life, and that I didn't really, I don't know why I never
Yes.
really asked, but I never did.
And I
Okay.
know that there are people who don't want to share that kind of information, even though it may be a daughter
Yeah.
or a son. They choose to keep that to themselves.
Yeah. I don't know, like I say, I don't really know why. I wonder today why I didn't ask her, but I don't really know why I didn't ask her.
You know, Jean, you have brought in a very important aspect which is kind of painful to me, because after my medical oncology training with Eli Lilly, I went back to India in '73 and started the medical oncology pioneering work in North India. And I started with, and one of our frequent patients that come to me at that time was breast cancer. And it was quite a traumatic experience because all of them came late. And they probably died in 2 or 3 or 4 years. The reason, they didn't want to tell.
Yeah.
They didn't want anyone else to know. And in that culture, at that time, and talking about their private parts is almost a taboo, so they just put up with it. And so when these wonderful women came to me for treatment, it was advanced stage, and they didn't live long. In my 20 years period of oncology training, I have treated about 20,000 cancer patients, out of which at least 8 to 10,000 are breast cancer. But the scenario has changed. Now the women know to go after this, to detect it, and to get it, because it's their life. So thank you for sharing that about your mother. But I won't press you any further on that. Let's leave it at that. But when it comes to you, we detected it early, and when it comes to your 2 daughters, it was early. That's all you needed was to remove it. Chris, what do you think about that?
I think that's wonderful that they had the early detection. That's definitely a very key issue
Yes.
in getting treatment early. Now, I know your daughter Judy. I don't know your other daughter. I have met her. But was it more or less the same with Judy? Did she have to go through any
She had no
radiation?
chemo or nothing.
Oh,
Now,
wow.
my youngest daughter had a lumpectomy, so she had to go through chemo. And I thought, I think Judy and I took the easier ways just to have them both taken off. And it concerned me that the youngest daughter just had a lumpectomy, because right after that, people on television were saying how, oh, a friend of mine did that and she died of cancer then. And so I was very upset
I
about
could
it.
think so.
But lately I've heard about how they had a lumpectomy and they did very well, and it was a smart way to go. And I thought, thank you, God.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Because I was glad to hear that, because I've been worried about her over the last 2 or 3
I can
years.
imagine. Yeah.
And you brought in another important aspect, that your first daughter had total surgery, free from it, and your younger daughter, had the lumpectomy and had chemo. See, even we learn as we go along. So these large multi-centric trials bring out the different aspects of the way they behave, the cancer behave, breast cancer. So at that time, at the younger daughter's time, then the recommendation was after lumpectomy, take short chemo.
Yeah.
Not short chemo, complete chemo.
Yeah.
Yes. Very good. That you from your history we covered a lot.
Yeah.
All right. Tell us something about your emotional coping.
Well, my personal emotion coping, I thought I would really fall to pieces when I found out I had cancer. However, my husband was dying of cancer at the time, and so I coped with it much, much better than I ever thought I would. I had one weekend I was a basket case, and after that, I thought, okay, tough up, you know your husband's dying of it, and I wasn't going to.
Yes.
And so I handled it better than I would have any other way. You know, it changed the way I would have handled it. Otherwise, I would have not handled it well.
You needed to be strong
Yeah.
for him, and it took away from your worries
Right.
about your own self.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's totally amazing.
Yeah. It changes your perspective a lot when you know that. Well, when he got his cancer, he said, "Okay, life is not going to change. We're going to go on, and everything's going to be the same."
Yes.
And he more or less meant it. And I thought, okay, I got cancer and I'm not going to die of it. I've got to be strong like he was. So otherwise, I wouldn't probably have handled it well.
Jean, I admire you because you had to put up with your mother's cancer when you were only in the 20s, knowing at that age you know hardly, not much I'm doing that those days. And then in your personal experience through that and your husband's. But God has granted you strength to go through all this and be a strong woman. And tell us about your daughters. How did they cope? Just your observation.
How did they cope? They coped fairly well. The oldest daughter, I don't know why she did, but she did not tell us that she had cancer. She went ahead and got everything set up for her surgery. Well, I know, because she thought, well, Dad and Mom had gone through enough. And she had it a year after I did.
Yes.
And so she didn't tell us until she actually had her surgery set up. And, I mean, it bothered her a lot, of course, but she went through it fairly good. And then my youngest daughter, it was hard on her because she didn't know what to do. And her husband and her decided what to do, and she had the surgery, and the day that she had her surgery, we called her from the hospital saying, we don't know if Dad's going to make it through the day or not. And so she came right from surgery to the nursing home. And so, you know, you say it was hard on her, but it was even harder on her because of that. So, you know, it's made it much more strenuous on all of us because of that, but all of us stood up better because of all of it.
I was there at the visitation, and I could tell there is strength in numbers, first of all.
Yes. And this is very difficult, what you went through and the family. Can you share with us what the support group, like churches or friends, that has come to of great help?
Well, our church was of great help, and you know, two of us go to the same church and one of us to another, but yeah, our church was of great help, and we have a fantastic minister.
Yes.
And yeah, it was a great help to us.
And your friends who kept in touch with you? Okay.
Right.
Chris, would you comment on that?
Well, I know that having a great support system is extremely, extremely helpful. It at least relieves you of maybe preparing some meals. I know a lot of church members will bring in meals to the family while you are undergoing all of this treatment. And I, as a Christian, believe that all power comes from above, and I know you believe that way as well. And if anything can be said, it is that's where you derive a lot of your support and strength from.
Yeah, our family too, because we have my brother is married to my husband's sister, and we're very, very close to our family, and that helped an awfully lot too. So they were very helpful through everything. And not because it's hereditary, but because my brother smoked, but he had lung cancer. And so, you know, he understands a little bit about having cancer too, so, you know, it's all been more involved too, and so he appreciates the fact that cancer is not a fun thing to have.
Wow.
So.
What would you like to tell those who are listening to us, your journey through this difficult time, that there is always never lose hope and hang on and increase your faith? Would you just share some?
Well, basically, just exactly what you said, just have faith and keep pulling on it. And like with my husband, they said he would live, I mean, it was a death sentence, but he lived 6 years, and we kept having faith in it. And when I received the news that I had breast cancer, it was over the telephone and quite a total shock, but I got through it. And when my oldest daughter found out, you know, she was at the doctor's office and she had faith and she got through it. And my youngest daughter, you know, she had the choice. I guess we all really had a choice if we wanted, my oldest daughter and I, do we want to lose one breast or two? And we both chose two breasts. But my youngest daughter had the choice, do you want a lumpectomy or a breast or take two? And she chose a lumpectomy. But it's a hard decision to make. But we all feel like we made the right decision and had faith in God. And so far we're all doing fine. So.
Wonderful.
That's
now,
marvelous.
Chris, you personally have gone through this aspect, so I want you to add your experience in terms of importance of faith and support group, friends and family.
Well, when my husband was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, lung cancer, we were living in Florida, so our children were here in Champaign. He was told he had a year to live, maybe a year and a half. However, he died after 4 months. I was his caregiver, but I did have the support of my family. They called nearly every day. We also got involved with hospice in Florida. Our doctor got us involved, and that is a fantastic organization.
Yes.
I just, like Jean said, you just kind of have to suck up and do what you need to do in order to be the support that you need, in order to get the support that you need. It is through family, sometimes friends. And so we were very fortunate that my daughter, after Jack was hospitalized, she came down for 4 weekends in a row, would fly down on Friday and leave on Monday morning. And then she had planned to take a rest one weekend. My son had been in Asia on company business, so as soon as he got home, he turned around and flew down the following day. Once he arrived, the hospice people took us both aside and said, we better get my daughter Linda back because time was very, very short. How I got through that, I don't know. I still don't know how we managed to be strong for one another. It's just something that you do what you need to do. And one of the things that, as my husband was dying, we kept around his bedside and kept telling him that we were all together now as a family, the 4 of us. And the hospice nurse emphasized that, to continue talking, to continue stroking, because they can feel and hear you in your conversations with them. So it was definitely a very different experience. I'm not really sure how I got through it. I do know now that I do suffer from depression. It's getting better, but it depends on time of day, time of year. But everybody goes through it, so I don't feel that I'm alone in this.
Yes. Well, today we have covered this important aspect of cancer can run in the families, that we need to be aware of it and take preventive steps. And Jean sitting here is an incredible example in which she had only have to have surgery and nothing else, and she is well, and then her daughters similarly early detection. So the take-home lesson number 1 is none of us want anyone to get cancer, but we need to be aware of this situation, particularly when it runs in the families. And the second take-home message is, both we heard from Jean and Chris, that when we are in it, we are not in it alone. And we have our spouses, our family, our friends, and our faith and the churches and the support group. And so we want to bring this episode to a close with all three of us wanting to tell you that there is always light at the end of the tunnel.
There is always hope.
You agree to that?
Oh, definitely.
And thank you for listening to us.